Much, Francesco. Yes. Dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to our webinar, which is devoted to the challenges which the pension industry is facing today and to the needs for the reforms. So I'm very happy and proud that this webinar, organized by CBBA-Europe, is a part of this wonderful initiative, European Retirement Week, which is organized by 11 lobbying organizations based in Brussels, who are trying to raise attention to the challenges which the pension industry is facing today. So, by the way, next year, a similar event is planned, and I hope very much that it can be held personally, so physically in Brussels, and would love to welcome you all personally there in 2022 in Brussels. So, but now back to today. We all know that the world is rapidly changing. We are facing all those dramatic changes, globalization, digitalization, you name it. And not last but not least, but not last but not least is, of course, COVID-19 pandemics and the changes connected with the working style, home office, with the changes with the labor market. So, and these changes, the pension industry needs to address with new innovative solutions, with even maybe those solutions which require some courage to be implemented. So with pension reforms. So, and if we, at our seminar, we would love to address these changes, and we hope that we will provide you some food for thoughts. And we invited today excellent speakers which will share with you today their vision. So I wish you with this a good start of the webinar, and with this back to Francesco. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Olga. So we immediately start our first session. I would kindly invite to the panel Nico Spiegel from the European Commission, Fernando Laran-Eirinat from the World Bank and International Center for Pension Management, and Ambrogio Rinaldi from COVIP, which is the Italian Supervisory Authority on Pension Funds. Thank you. I see all of you. Maybe there are someone who is still have the camera on. Maybe if it is better to switch off if you are not on the panel. Thank you. So let's start. Well, first of all, let's say the first panel is about how to effectively promote funded pensions in Europe. It's a big issue because we know that many recommendations from the European Union and of course member states are to increase long-term savings. It's something that we hear everywhere. But then we realize that some countries of Europe, especially the continental and South European countries, have big pay-as-you-go and a very expensive pay-as-you-go system. So here a little bit we have some issues, and probably even tax incentives or this kind of arrangements are not sufficient always to really develop funded pensions in those countries. Basically, the margin is very low. So that's a little bit the idea of this discussion. And the first, I would like to give the floor to Nico Spiegel, who will give us some updates about the activities of the European Commission on how it is trying to promote funded pensions in Europe. Nico, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak at this event in the framework of the European Retirement Week, which is indeed a very interesting, a very useful, and can you hear me? Oh. Yeah, can you hear me? It's okay. Yeah. This is really a very useful and very topical event, which has been opened by our commissioner on Monday, and so it's a particular honor for me to intervene here in this context. And I don't want to eat up a lot of your time, because I'm convinced that we will have very good and very interesting discussions on the subjects which have already been announced by Francesco. I just will give you a short overview of the state of play of three of the core measures, of the core legislative and political measures on our level, which can contribute to the agenda mentioned by Francesco. The first thing is the technical advice on pension dashboards and pension tracking systems. As you might know, this is an action in the context of the action plan for the new capital markets union, and because pensions are very important, not only from a social viewpoint, but also from the viewpoint of the capital markets union. And it is very important for our capital markets union action plan to enable market participants to make better use of capital markets within the European Union, and this includes also for retirement and pension purposes. Insofar, of course, it is not good news what Francesco said at the beginning, that there are very important, that the contribution to funded pensions in some member states is very small, because this is something which we would tendentially tend to improve in order to get here a better functioning of the capital market with regard to pensions. In our capital market action plan, we have two actions on pensions, which are both intended to foster good practices and to help member states to improve the efficiency of their pension system. And this is the so-called Action 9. We have promised that we will ask EIOPA for technical advice on how to identify relevant data and methodology for developing pension dashboards to strengthen the monitoring of pension adequacy, because we have seen in some member states such data collections are already done and are quite successful, while in our member states this is not yet the case. So the point is to develop better practices for all member states to provide easy to read, comprehensive, comparable and up-to-date information on pension adequacy in order to early spot pension gaps and adequacy problems, and to develop action in order to correct such things. The second instrument would be national pension tracking systems. These exist already in some member states, and but here again the idea is to support member states to develop and share best practices to make national pension tracking systems effective, giving citizens access to individualized information on which aggregates their whole pension entitlements they have in different pillars under different funds, to allow them to consult a website and to get a very clear picture on what they can expect as a pension at retirement age. Also to make them aware in good time to possible gaps and shortcomings, allowing them to start in time setting money aside to improve their pension situation. The good news is we got yesterday the technical advice from EIOPA. So EIOPA has done its work. This was also not an easy work, where it was the discussions were not always very easy. This is because these are difficult topics in the member states. So we are very glad and we are very thankful for this technical advice. And now our task, the ball is back on our turf. Now our task is to continue our policy action to draw the conclusions of this technical advice. We are currently starting our internal discussions, and I hope that I will be able to give you more news on what is going on here, what are our plans, and what we want to do to further foster cooperation of member states here. The second point is just a point for as a reminder. In some months, on 22 March of 22, the PEP regulation will go live. The PEP regulation will become applicable, and PEP providers will have the possibility to offer PEPs in the European market. This is, of course, a big event for us. It is possible because all second-level regulations are in place in time. And what we are doing right now is we are working with member states. We have had meetings with member states because although the PEP is a regulation, there are certain parts of the PEP legal framework which need to be implemented by member states. For instance, the supervisory and registration systems by member states, and also the general conditions, and of course, the big issue of tax treatment. And now we are working together with member states to see where they are to make sure that the whole framework will be in place in March 2022 to allow for the effective offering of PEPs. And one final point is one of the core directives in our field is the IORP 2 directive, of course. And here the IORP 2 directive, if you're working with this, you might have seen it is already due for a review by the Commission. The directive itself says that by January 2023, the Commission should present a review. And so here the message is that this will most probably, almost certainly be postponed. We will not meet this date for the simple reason that, as you might have also seen in practice, member states were rather slow with the transposition of the IORP 2 directive. We had a lot of delays. We had a lot of infringement procedures. Now the last implementation has been done, but still we have a lot of work to do making assessments of the implementations by the member states. And this means it is way too early to start a review, because reviews normally are started by asking EIOPA for technical advice, for advice on the situation, on the implementation of the directive. And to give such advice in a meaningful way, EIOPA needs to have at least something like 2 full years of data of the application in the member states. And this is by far not yet the case. For this reason, the decision has been made to start this a bit more slowly, to postpone it probably at least by 1 or 2 years. Practically, it means that we will only probably in the second half of next year launch the call for advice to EIOPA, which will then probably base its advice on the years 22 and 23, if not even a later period of time, and which of course will also delay our report, which will delay potential legislative initiatives for an IORP 3. But this might be something which must not be a bad thing, and which, because we have seen here, and we will see today in our discussions, things are developing fast in the pension markets, for pension schemes. We have demographic problems. We have problems with the informal sector, with people in irregular work. We have problems by COVID, which have been made worse by COVID-19. And so maybe it's a good thing to have a little bit more time to reflect, to discuss with you what are the challenges and how they could possibly be met in order to do something which is really adapted to the needs of this time to make really a big progress, a step forward. And so in this spirit, I would really very much like to discuss with you the situation of funded pensions. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Nico. That's very good as an introduction, because now we have an update about the activities of and the initiatives of the European Commission. I would like now to ask a little bit of the experience to Fernando about, in fact, how it is going and how it was, especially the transition from, or maybe not only in Chile, in South America, but in general, a transition to a more funded system in some countries that you know, Fernando. Could you tell us a little bit, is it possible, to what extent, and so on?
Thank you, Francesco, for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here. Just one caveat, I'm not from the EU, so probably I don't understand exactly what's going on in every single debate, but what I heard from Nico is that there is a very dynamic conversation and they have done good first steps in order to move here. So let me, a couple of things that I would like to say. First one is, I think that the pension discussion is similar to the climate change discussion. And probably these are going to be the two hot topics, one on global warming, the other one on demographics, that are going to be with us for the next 20 and 30 years. And there have been in both sides a lot of rhetoric and not much action, because it's hard. It's hard to changes, because some generation will have to pay some costs in order to move forward a different stage, and I think we have the different countries have discussed too much regarding if the scheme has to be defined benefit scheme or a defined contribution, trying to think that the world of pension is divided by a big Chinese wall between one and the other one. And it looks like the world is moving towards more a gray. It's not just black or white, one or the other one. It's how you end up building your pension scheme in each country, depending on different cultural things. So besides thinking where we're gonna end as a pension system, I think there are a couple of things that Francesco mentioned that I would like to go a little bit deeper. The first one is, if we have learned a couple of things, not only with COVID, but with the whole data we have. First one is that given demographics, aging and newborns, pay-as-you-go systems, the way were built at the beginning 50 years ago, they cannot rely in itself, because there is not going to come a new generation to pay those benefits. So either the state comes in, and that implies a huge fiscal deficit, and it's not going to be sustainable. Otherwise, you need to try to build your transition process. And in order to build that transition, what we have learned is, especially the newcomers to the system, the new generations, people from 20 years old, 25 years old, they understand that they are coming towards a more complex scenario than their parents, more uncertainty there, and they like to have their pension entitlements, and they would like to know that they effort their job, it's in order to save for their future. So something has to be built towards creating, some countries call individual accounts, but funded pensions at the end of the day. Not only in order to get higher returns, we know that return on capital is higher than return on wages. That's advised by all papers in macroeconomics, but also because the way new generations think what is going to happen in the future. So that's one thing that we have learned regarding regarding pay-as-you-go. And the other ones is the new labor market. These atypical jobs of self-employed entrepreneurs, informality, whatever you want to call, it's going to be a typical job for the next in the next 5 years, 10 years. We're going to have multi-employers. People are going to switch from one state to the other state. So we need to start thinking on creating this type of funded accounts in order for people to have like kind of pension passports in order to move from one or the other one. They should not be strict towards this typical occupational pension scheme that they cannot move from that, and have some freedom to choose. Okay, and in order to build this, you should be aware on how to build the transition. A lot of focus have been paid on the final part. Few focus have been paid on the pension transition. And on the pension transition, there are a couple of things that I think are interesting. One is you need to build social capital and social contract in order to move, because in this movement there are going to be winners and losers, and that's good. And it's hard from politics to say that. I understand it's very hard, but in order to build and try to do a smooth transition process, because what we have learned from some Eastern European countries, what we learned from some Latin American countries, is that the transition was not smooth. And in order to be smooth, you need to build social contract. There is a discussion that has to be done between generations. This is not just about pensioners. It's about also kids that are going to entitle pensions in the future. So you need to bring different perspectives on the table. You need to communicate in a very transparent way in order to make this very clear for pension members. Nico was saying these issues about pension dashboard, putting all the information together, get some certainty. That's very, very important for members. But when you build the transition, it's important as well to know what to expect and to try to understand what is going to happen in the future regarding something that is going to be in the next 20 years, 30 years, but try to bring some certainty to the present, okay? And in order to build that transition, starting moving from pay-as-you-go systems towards funded system, could be individual accounts, collective defined contribution accounts, etc. This transition, it might happen that at the very beginning, some percentage of the contribution that was used to pay-as-you-go system, you should try to move towards these individual accounts, try to create a good market, a good financial market, and good managers in order to manage those pension funds. Because one of the issues regarding this topic, it has to do with the managers at the end of the day, the fees, regulation, all those type of issues that I think are very important. But just to be very brief and short, just wanted to raise awareness in two big topics. So one topic is going to be this issue of demographics, that even if we would like or we would not like to move, we are going to have to move because of demographics. And the other issue, it has to do, at the end of the day, pensions are reflect of what happened in the job market. And the way we thought that people it's going to last 30 years in the same job with a payroll, it's easy to collect the money, that is going to change. So we need to innovate on that point of view and start thinking in issues to for example, collect from a different way, make it easier for all this gig economy, put some nudges over there and those type of things. I'm happy to share more thoughts, but I would like to be very strict on the minutes Francesco gave me. So back to you, Francesco.
Many thanks, Fernando. Then I hope we will come back to all of you with this. Ambrogio, Fernando mentioned two aspects, the aging.
We can get it around the world in a nanosecond. And yet we still have 2 and 3 day settlement cycles for many of our financial transactions.
Excuse me, there is a problem here.
It's a second to move a photograph or a JPEG photo.
Sorry, I will try to, I have to leaflet. Fernando is here?
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Ambrogio?
Yes, I'm here.
Sorry, Ambrogio, I didn't see you. Okay, very good. I was saying, Ambrogio, two topics. The first is the aging, which is something that, of course, you will speak about Italy. And the second is, it's not really a typical jobs, I would say more it's informal economy, and it's even elegant to say informal economy. But so how do you see these challenges and the possible solutions?
Okay, no, thank you very much, Francesco. Let me thank you in general for organizing this this telco and overall this retirement week. Pension week is very important initiative. The coordination between all the associations and that take care of pensions from different aspects, from the perspective of different stakeholders, is very important to try to put them together. So I really appreciate this, and I appreciate the opportunity to contribute. I will comment on the stimuli that Fernando gave, but also let me also comment somehow what are the initiatives of the European Commission in order to be able to try to steer the things in a way that I think is most useful. Well, obviously from an Italian perspective, but I would say even more in general, pensions are a very tricky issue, because we are an aging, actually already aged society, and the perspective of demographics is very difficult. The fertility rate in Italy is one of the lowest in the world. It's about 1.3. And so basically the sustainability of a pay-as-you-go system is at risk in the long term. And on the top of that, our system is very much already founded somehow on a pay-as-you-go component that is very large. And so any transition that we have to plan to build a significant funded component of the pension system is going to be a real challenge. Let me just remind to all of you what is the contribution rate that Italy has currently to the pay-as-you-go public system is 33%. So the issue is whether it is possible, it is feasible, or actually is even desirable to have a significant additional contribution on the top of that. And probably my answer is no. So I would say that, well, you know, I'm a pension regulator in Italy, so I'm kind of, how could I say, happy if Italian pension funds develop as much as possible. But I see that there are issues raised by many parties, stakeholders in Italy, that the development of the system is not strong enough and fast enough. But when I see that at least a quarter or maybe even a third of workers in Italy do participate to funded pension plans, I'm actually surprised, because I'm very happy, but I think that in order to make things better, we need some more structural change to be made. And what Fernando was suggesting, that some contributions, some of that 33% of contribution should be shifted from the pay-as-you-go pillar to the funded pillar. Probably that would be the most important piece of change that we could introduce. Sorry. Going a little bit on the on what are the initiatives at the European level. Let me help. I hope what Nico said about the number of initiatives that the European Commission is taking in the field of pensions, and adding also one other initiative that is currently being taken, that is focus on auto-enrollment as an important way to encourage people to join funded pension schemes. And actually, we know the experience of the UK that is very positive in this respect. And Italy has also some experience to be considered. And actually, there is a study commissioned by the European Commission on auto-enrollment was made public, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday. So this is also something to look at. But also from this viewpoint, a precondition that they would consider in countries like Italy, where the legacy of the pay-as-you-go system is very large, is that first of all, in order to also to make auto-enrollment work, you need to consider some way to redirect the contribution flow from pay-as-you-go to funded pensions. Then another very fundamental issue that I wanted to touch upon, and then I will stop there, is the issue, very important issue that Fernando mentioned, that basically the design of a pension system is a matter of finding a social contract between generations. Generations as such are not represented in the parliaments. So the issue should be translated in a political consensus that has to be built between parties, and in order to make sure that it lasts enough for the reforms to take place, for the reform to be at the end implemented with a continuous support from governments, from different governments that may take place in countries. What you need is a large, long-standing bipartisan consensus. That is very, very important to make the reforms in the field of pensions. So either you either need large coalitions that decide to push for reforms and then stand in that mood for many years, or you need bipartisan consensus. This is the way to ensure that the long-standing contract between generations has actually some chance to stay in place in the right way. I will stop here if you need, if you allow, Francesco, in order to give some place to further discussion by others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, it's very challenging. Probably would like to come back to Nico. We make another fast tour. To Nico, with two questions, Nico. Of course, there is a specific question that we received from the chat, so I just take advantage and because you are here, and of course it's important also for us as CBBA. It's about the PEP. You mentioned the PEP. So before I forget, I just asked you this question. Taxation, you said. Do you have any information about the number of states that already got an agreement about taxation for the implementation of the PEP? First question, and sub-question, if there is no agreement, is it still possible, in your opinion, to set up a PEP in those countries where there is no agreement, or it is not legally possible? Excuse me, this is a question about, let's say, from the audience, but also from CBBA, because it's interesting for us. To come back to this conversation we are doing about changes, of course, Nico, this is, I know, very politically difficult to answer this question, but we're talking about transitional periods. And we know that in Europe we have budgetary rules. Do you think in principle, but of course you are free also to not answer this question, that in a European point of view, European Union point of view, a country that would make a deficit because of this transitional period and trying to limit the little bit of pay as you go, going into funded pensions, do you think it would be tolerated, this deficit? Or do you think that would be, many national governments use the excuse that they cannot make some reforms because otherwise the following year they are punished by the European Commission? Please, Nico, sorry. You should switch on the audio.
For the first question with regard to the PEP, yes, I mean, as I have said, we have been in discussion. We had recently a meeting with member states, because of course this member state implementation and also adaptation of the national framework are very important for the take-up of PEP. Because I would say, if now a member state, what happens if a member state has not yet defined a taxation regime for the PEP? Then in that member state, because tax law is national law, in principle, the general tax framework would apply, but there is also, as we have said, in the Commission recommendation, there is an obligation to grant equal treatment. So if this member state has a national pension product which has the same features as the PEP, then the member state could not treat this national project more favorable than the PEP. But of course, these are technical questions, and I think for in our view, the aim cannot be to go now before the Court of Justice and say, look, you have a national project which offers these advantages, and it should be, and PEP should get the same treatment. The point for us is that member states have in place specific rules for the PEP in time in March 2022, so that we have a good legal certainty, and providers can offer PEPs in all the member states, knowing exactly not only what are the EU rules, but also what are the national rules applicable to these PEPs, in particular with regard to taxes. The question asked also of how many member states have, to our knowledge, already taken these steps. Unfortunately, this is not. I'm not dealing with this on a principal level. I have just sent in the background a question to my colleague who is dealing with this, and I will give you more information either on the podium or in a reply to the question as soon as I get details from my colleague. This is the first point.
Yes, just one word for the second, because we have 2 minutes, and I would like to come back also to Fernando and Roger. Thank you.
I see. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Please.
Yeah, for the second point, I can be very short, because I mean, unfortunately, I have to say I'm not only not entitled, I'm also not qualified to make any statements on the budgetary rules for member states, because I mean, this is I'm a lawyer. I have never worked with these subjects, so it would not be serious to make here any statement with regard to the application of these rules. But what we see, of course, on our end, within our framework, in our competences, if a member state makes such a transition, this will make an unsustainable situation much more sustainable. And I think this is something which we should all support. And I mean, so if one day, let's say, a colleague of DG ECFIN comes to us and asks us about such measures, of course, it's for him, them, or for her to decide on what conclusions to draw from it. But we would also, I think, not only we, but also DG Employment, we would say very clearly that this is something which brings a very important structural long-term improvement of a situation which otherwise might be unsustainable. Thank you.
Many thanks. Very good, very clear. Fernando, do you have any comment? Or otherwise, I have a question. If you have any comment about the last interventions so far.
I'll go. We have short time, so go for the question.
Okay. The question is, what is the biggest error that some states made during this transitional period, according to the experience that you mentioned? You said that several times didn't work, this transition. What was, in your opinion, the biggest error?
I mean, it's hard to get the question because it depends on the country and the reality they have. But I would say, I mean, a couple of things. One is they try to switch too much from one side to the other one. So it was kind of a pendulum, trying to move from this kind in politics. When polarization, you have on one side on the other one, you move towards one on the other one, and that's not good. The other one is that transition was not communicated in an appropriate way to the members and to society, and it was based in if you think this transition period were in the 80s and 90s, was in a moment that where society, civil society, didn't get too much a stake in the conversation. So they were kind of kept aside. Now you have to bring them in, and you have to not only think, and I think this is another issue, is in general, these transition periods are discussed with incumbents, like just for the one that, or either the pensioners or members that are gonna receive pension in the next couple of years. So their incentives to block any changes is very, very big. So you need to bring on the table not only the ones that are very close to get pension or the actual pensioners, but also these new generations on it. And this is going to be at the end of the day is a generation with people on the table with different interests, and you need to be aware of that. And at the end of the day, you need to build something. And the other thing is, the other thing that I think you need to be aware is this can't take too long. Processes of this thing takes, the Dutch reform in the Netherlands took a lot of years. It's okay to discuss, it has a lot of discussion process, and I think it's good, but pensions are kind of urgent. So this, going back to the climate change analogy, is we need to act today. And that's, I think I would like to put a point of urgency here, and the urgency cannot be given only to politicians making decisions. It has to be with other stakeholders on the table. And I think that EU members and all the organizations you represent here are very important stakeholders in that discussion.
Thank you, Fernando. Very, very short, sorry, because we are out of time. Ambrogio, Italian perspective, do you think it would be possible something like that in Italy, or you think we will never see this kind of reform?
No, I think it is possible. One thing that I want to say just very quickly that is positive in the Italian perspective is that at least the occupational component of funded pensions works well in terms of cost efficiency. And the issue of having cost efficiency is very important in building a sustainable second and third pillar, funded pillar. One important aspect that I think was crucial in not making the reforms work in Eastern Europe was the fact that the fees, the costs of the products, of the pension products that were offered in those contexts were simply too high, or became too high when the low interest rate environment took place. So there was at that point no political consensus to still recognize margins of the size of 2% or something to intermediaries. So solutions that have to be put in place for building a sustainable pension system have to be based on very, very strong attention on cost efficiency. And this can be done. The example of the UK shows us that the system is working with a 0.75% cap on fees. So obviously we have been discussing this in other occasions. I'm sure, Francesco, that you will be happy to organize other session to further discuss this. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much to everyone for your information. Just come back to what Roger said. As a CBBA, we want and we are planning already to create a working group on this, how member states should try to this transition from big pay-as-you-go to funded pensions to have a mixed system. And of course, all who are interested are very welcome. Thank you again. So we are 5-6 minutes late. I immediately shifted to the next session. So I would like to invite, of course, I thank the previous ones and the new speakers from the next panel. So Martino Braico from Previnet, Andres Wagner from Zurich, Emilie Roulon from ITX, and Carlo Di Gennaro from Eni Pension Fund. You can switch on the, I will give the floor immediately to Martino Braico. The name of this session is about innovation. So the possible and maybe necessary pension innovation solutions that should be taken to make pensions more efficient. Martino, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesco, for having me today. Martino Braico, my company Previnet delivers pension scheme administration and IT solution for cross-border plans inside and outside Europe. As a service provider, we have proven that IORP and cross-border pension scheme are real and possible, and you will hear about that in the next session as well. We are providing compliant administration in several countries, including Hungary, Austria, Netherlands, Spain, Cyprus, Portugal, Luxembourg, Middle East region. We are going to be live in Ireland and Belgium soon next year. So we have hands very busy. So what I will briefly discuss today with you is how pension industry can benefit from technology. Since last year, we were made all very aware that a lot of things can be done remotely. Luckily, not everything, but a lot of things can be done remotely. And during this pandemic period, we experienced that members dramatically improve their digital skill. And we have some statistic and evidence on that. So no surprise, technology has a clear impact on pensions, we think. We even better, we think that technology is an exceptional driver for a better pension industry. But we, of course, are aware that pensions from time to time can be a bit boring. So what we try to do, in addition to the boring pension administration, we try to suggest some solution which might trigger curiosity in members. So let me share my screen so you will understand a bit more of what we are talking about. So question here, can pension be smarter and more digital and even not so boring? Oh, we think that the answer is probably yes. So let's start with some question to which we already responded to. Are members becoming more and more digital? Absolutely yes, we think. So another question, why not pushing information to members instead of having them pulling out information from websites? In addition, different communication channels are possible. Are email, website, text messages enough? We think that they are useful, but probably not enough. So, and the last question is, of course, and easy to respond. Aren't we all much more engaged when the information we receive is personalized? Of course, yes. So we think that technology can support a lot when responding to those questions. So these are some ideas. So artificial intelligence is in the pension scheme, in the pension industry. Artificial intelligence has been part of our capabilities for years now. We do manage millions of members, and so we have the experience and maybe the capability to know these large population very well and to understand they need quite well. So to the next point. So I think that today is really difficult, if not impossible, to meet a person not using WhatsApp. So we develop our pension mobile apps, and WhatsApp is actually already one of our communication channel. Now moving to chatbot. Oh, okay. What are chatbots? We probably experience when talking over the phone to a nice telephone agent is probably the best way to get explanation. But sometimes the waiting period to get such response is really disappointing. So we think that digital robots, always there for you, can deliver instant answer, maybe, possibly, without looking too much robotic. Now, another point, smart notification. You will see that in a second when I'll show you what Dr. P is capable to do. So we think that it's really important to, and today is possible, to anticipate member needs and proactively alert them about opportunities and possibly even needs. And another piece of technology coming in help is can be the virtual assistant. So you will see a couple of a short video where Luna is responding to member, and this is a part of a project already live in Italy, and it is a project we will make available soon to one of our pan-European pension clients. So let's try to understand in practice what I'm suggesting. So smart notification via WhatsApp. This is Dr. P, as you can imagine, and this is of course a mobile phone, and this is WhatsApp. In this example, you will see that the conversation is not started by the member, is started by the pension scheme, by Previnet in this case. So checking the system, we spotted that this member was not updating his risk profile. Risk profile nowadays is really important. We are living in a defined contribution world, and members are given with plenty of responsibilities in terms of deciding investment strategies, understanding risk, and so on. So this member was not taking advantage of tools available on website, such as risk profiler. So we noticed that, and then we think it was appropriate to get in touch with this member, asking some question and providing some additional information. So this is what could happen, what is happening already in the industry, with a conversation happening between Dr. P and a member. It's actually me in this case. So Dr. P is mentioning that the risk profile of this member is not updated. So he's suggesting that refreshing it would be a very good idea. So the member is getting curious, and the conversation goes on. So Dr. P is explaining that new investment options are now available for this pension scheme, and the member is starting to understand more. And so our agent is explaining that once the risk profile is fresh and updated, then the member will be capable of better understanding the investment option available if any of those new funds suits him properly, and maybe change her investment strategy. So and this is not only a slideshow. This is really happening in the industry, and we have already experienced that. So let's see another quick example. This is another way of interacting with your pension scheme. Now we are in the portal, and we have a digital assistant answering to questions coming from a member. You will see when the video starts, you will see my question in the bottom left of the screen, and you will see, and even here, probably here, we will check the sound. You will also hear Luna responding to the member. And this is in relation to the technology behind these kind of tools. So the answer we are providing the members with are built on experience in responding to millions, and always, and when I say millions, means millions of queries addressed to our contact center in Italy and outside Italy. So let's see how Luna is responding to this member. I'll be quiet for a second.
Did you mean information on your current account value? Please answer or click yes or no, or ask me something else. You can find all the relevant information about the value of your account by accessing your personal area. In order to access your personal area, you will need your ID code and password. In case you do not know how to recover your ID code and password, just ask me. Feel free to ask me something else or write services for the list of topics I can answer you. Did you mean information on how to ask for a redemption? Please answer or click yes or no, or ask me something else. Please let me know which of the below topics you are interested in by indicating a number from the list. 1. Information about eligibility criteria for benefit requests. 2. Information on the documents to provide and the procedure to follow for benefit request. 3. Information on the timing of benefit request. The settlement transfer procedure has a processing timeline of up to 2 months from the fund's full receipt of the application. In order to improve this service, may I please ask you to leave a rating from 1 to 5, where 5 is excellent. You can also use bottom feedback to recommend improvements. Otherwise, feel free to ask me for something else or type services to view the list of the matters I can help you with.
So hopefully I triggered a bit of curiosity out of you, and of course, if today or tomorrow someone is asking you about pensions being boring, please say not necessarily. Pensions are not necessarily boring, and we try to explain that. So Francesco, floor to the other colleagues.
Thank you, Martino. Okay, so after this explanation about the innovation in the field of technology, I would like to ask to Andres Wagner, the German experience, and here instead we are speaking, I think, about the innovation in the pension design of occupational pensions. So please, Andres, could you tell us a little bit what Germany did?
Yes, thanks for allowing me to present today, Francesco. Yeah, we heard it before in the first panel from Nico and also Ambrogio. that our current, let's say, statal pension systems are in a trouble because of demographic changes that are imminent. And it's also a topic that for many, many years, nobody wanted to touch. And yeah, we will see in the future how the pension systems of every state will change over time. And one thing that has been allowed in Germany, and I must say Germany is a very, very guarantee-oriented society with regards to pension savings, is the introduction of a pension system, a corporate pension system that can be agreed on with employers or employers associations and workers unions. So it's called a social partner model in Germany. And this is the first time where we can truly say that this is a defined contribution plan that has no guarantees at all for the participants. And also, on the other hand, no risk from the employer side to have to come in and, in case the pension plan doesn't work, to meet the difference. So, and this is a solution that is allowed since 2018. And so far, there are two models in place, or will be in place, hopefully very soon, from two companies. But it's the way that we had, so it's more than 3 years now, almost 4 years of discussions with workers' unions and employers' associations, showed us the issue that we are currently facing. We have very different workforces. We have decision makers that may be not good enough to evaluate the best solutions for every generation. So the older ones, the younger ones, and the future generations up to come. And we have faced very heavy discussions with regards to guarantee models. So what we have now tried to implement in Germany is this system without any guarantees for the employees. Means that we are able to heavily invest in the equity market. Nico mentioned it at the beginning as well. We need to create this switch from very bond-oriented investments, very securely oriented investments, into more capital market-oriented investments. And this brings also the investment risks with it. And the idea of this social partner model in Germany is that and also from other participants in the market, is that that risks from investments can be mitigated over time. And this is something that I wanted to share with you today, just to give you a brief view on why these type of pensions plans should be a good idea for the future. And I'm just starting to share my screen then. So, as mentioned in the beginning, this social partner models can be agreed on with workers' unions and employers associations, or large employers, of course. And those unions have actually access to about 46% of the people in Germany who work in the private sector. So they are within these tariff models, and there are already 46% of the people in Germany that have a corporate pension plan in place. Well, there are also another 15% about that are related or are close to tariff models. And the sad part is that 43% of the companies and also or 43% of the employers from many companies in Germany are not attached to those type of systems. So, the main issue that we in Germany have, at least, maybe also in other countries, is that small companies with less than 50 employees and their employees don't really get a proper access to a corporate pension plan, because in Germany it's not an obligation to offer and provide a corporate pension plan, and thus there are also discussions going on in Germany. So this is the market that we're trying to reach, but with social partner models alone, this will not be possible. So there will definitely be a need to change. And the reason why the legislation should or law should change in this direction is that actually we have backtested for many years in the past how capital market oriented investment would have performed in comparison to, let's say, the top 10 companies and top 10 insurance solutions from the classical business area, so with high guarantees on that side. And these were the figures that we have actually calculated for a monthly pension based on, I think it was 115 euros of premium payments a month for a 35-year-old. And if we look at the figures, it's really astonishing, because if we have guarantees in place, this limits insurance companies in the investment side. So most of the investments are focused on state bonds, state bonds, corporate bonds with high ratings, which deliver only few, and at the moment also even negative returns on investment depending on the periods. And those products give a guarantee, but the guarantee with 122 euros seems to be very low. And this also should be connected also to the issue that the statal pensions are not in the best shape at the moment. And then the corporate pension plans or even private pension plans should deliver enough returns and enough higher pensions to maybe in the future, in 20, 30, 40 years onwards, could provide the sufficient pensions for the employees to retire with a proper pension in total. And within our backtesting, we have calculated and estimated that about in 99% of those cases, a capital-oriented pension plan would have beaten the guarantee. And in 95% of the cases, it would beat the guarantee plus the surplus that insurance companies and other pension plan providers offer, but which are also not guaranteed in the current model. So there is a very high probability that those type of pension plans will provide significantly higher pensions in the future. But the second part of this is, yes, the employees take the risk, take the investment risks, and there is also a chance to mitigate a part of this risk. And this is by creating collective mechanisms that work in such a way that you kind of level the return, positive and negative returns over time. And this is something that is being implemented in those models. Where you can see, for example, in this slide, in the upper part, you can see the monthly returns of a portfolio that we have set up a couple of years ago. And then you see that there are peaks upwards, peaks downwards over time. In March 2020, you see the Corona breakdown in the capital markets in reality. And on the lower end, you see the result of such a mechanism, a collective mechanism. So we take returns and spread them out to all the people that are saving. And we're looking at the beginning of a portfolio with a kind of buffer where we create a surplus in available assets or a reduced pension from the beginning, and then look into how the markets develop. And if they develop positive, we kind of save some money and put it aside and only allocate the expected return for this month. This would be the blue column here. to the pension account of the single employee. And then we create kind of a buffer. And this buffer then can be used, for example, such as in March 2020, to create a stable pension for those entitled employees. And this is a type of model that has been included now since 2018. We're looking forward to implementing this in the future as well for Germany. And we also believe that this could be a very good solution for the pension issues and retirement issues that we face all over Europe. And I think for some countries, it may not be very innovative from the first side, because already defined contribution plans with no guarantees. But leveraging those risks is highly important, especially for low-income earners that cannot spend more and more money and are usually more guarantee-oriented than people that earn more money and have some flexibility in their savings. So this is kind of the idea where we would like to develop the German pension market to just to create more value out of the existing income of the people. And that could be maybe a possible good idea in general for the German market in the pensions area.
Thank you very much, Andres. If we can make it, then we will try to come back to you, even if, to be honest, we are starting to accumulate some delay. Well, okay, Carlo, the experience from Eni in a point of view of an international pension fund, what do you think about what do we need in terms of innovation, or what are you seeing in terms of innovation?
Well, from a perspective, I mean, okay, just wanted to, of course, we need innovations, especially on the occupational part of the pension plan. But let me show before my presentation, so we can, my screen. I hope that you're able to see.
Carlo, maybe you should turn on your camera.
Yes, sorry, but I was. Okay, the camera. All right. Condividi. Well. Okay. I hope you are able to see the screen.
Yes.
Hopefully. Okay. Sorry, but I am at home and the line is not perfect. So no, so Eni situation regarding the occupational pension plan. Okay, now we have 26,000 employees enrolled with the Eni pension plans. That is almost 80% of total employees worldwide. Now we are managing 36 active pension plans, 29 are defined contribution, 7 defined benefit. Defined benefit all closed to new members and 5 to future accrual. We manage 48 million in total euro in total contribution paid by the companies in 2020. Then of course there is also the contribution paid by the employees, and 2.4 billion asset managed on the market. So we have almost 439 million of defined benefit obligation balance sheet. And also we have the most very important to notice 40 different investment manager or providers that are involved in the managing of our pension plan worldwide. So in Europe, we are managing 24 pension plan, 18 pension plan defined contribution, and 6 defined benefit. As you can see, we have many providers involved because our strategy was at the beginning to choose the best provider for each country, and apparently each country have a different, say, best provider active in the specific countries. So it is a situation very fragmented. We also tried to classify our pension plan according the vehicles, according the criteria. So we have all the kinds of pension plans. So the company pension plan that we can call closed pension plan in Italy, or sector pension plan, open pension plan, collective agreement, individual agreement. We also started to manage also pension plan in Africa, in America, and Australia. But so this is a very complicated situation. Just to answer Francesco, this is what we need. We have a strong need of innovation and a strong need of solution in order to manage such a complicated situation. No, maybe regarding, say, the first pillar, what we can say, of course, in general, as a company, we can say that the first pillar system at present does not fit the market situation. The labor market is extremely changed, as also other participant was saying. So there is international mobility, smart working, people working in some countries and paying taxes in other countries. Many different contractual status during the working life for the people. So sometimes people starting as self-employed, they become employee, they professional. Sometimes they are just unregistered, let's say, black job. So this pillar, as it is, say, structured today, for sure is not fitting the present situation, and for sure is not even fitting the future situation, I think. Basically, okay, what can be the solution? Solution, I think that there should be to introduce flexibility in the system. Flexibility in order to adapt to the changing. Hopefully, we should introduce in the first pillar also the concept of portability, or the possibility to transfer the contribution. And as others were saying, certainty, because we are seeing a pension reform every year in the various countries. What the company need are simply rules and certainties. So in Italy, for example, we have at least 8 different ways to have anticipated pensions. So it is sometimes a conundrum, so very difficult to manage. Maybe as a solution, we could adopt the say pillar system that I saw that the World Bank is suggesting. So the 0 pillar managed by the state, pillar 1 as well managed by the state. So say a system more complicated, but at the same time with more tools that could adapt easier, more say to the situation that is continuously changing. Of course, as a system also that provide a reduced part of the public pension. So we should maybe move more to the part managed by the, say, privately or by pension provider. So apart from that, there is also some specific problem that I also would like to raise. It is the problem of the international people that move from a country to another in Europe. These our employees that maybe works 2 years in France or then another 3 years in Belgium or whatever, whoever. They cannot build a pension at the end of their career because, okay, there is totalization. You know, but totalization, it is just for the accruing of the periods, not of the contribution. So that would be maybe a solution to have possibility in the future to consolidate also the contribution, not only the periods. Otherwise, there is a great risk that people is ending their career without a pension, neither in a state nor in the other. But as well, it is another element of uncertainty, because again, maybe that it's difficult to manage, very difficult to manage. Then considering the second pillar, I would say that of course the situation is much more evoluted than the first pillar. Now we have good pension tools locally and cross-border, IORP, PEP, whatever. But so apart from that, anyway, now ENI in the future is facing a very difficult time in order to use dramatic transformations from becoming net zero company in 2050. So production shifting from oil to 90% to natural gas, and also now we are improving the capacity from renewable energies. So you should reach 60 gigawatts of renewable energy. So these are dramatic transformations. So we need people. We need to be attractive in the labor market in order to hire and have the best people and the best employees. To compensate, the pension benefit. It is a very important benefit, one of the most appreciated by the people. So what, considering that the map that we have seen before, what we have seen from this occupational pension plan around Europe, it is that in the various countries, very different situations among the various providers. So we see very different results in terms of performance, investment approach, strategies. These differences that I think only limited, partially linked to the first pillar. Of course, sometimes a single provider propose a different solution in different countries. So from our perspective, there isn't no meaning, there is no sense that our employees have a different treatment, a different situation if they work in country A or B or in country C or D. So we really would like to offer a better solution, a best solution to our employees. So we are definitely considering to implement some operative and financial pension integrated tools. Let's call it an European cross-border plan or whatever. European plan that could be fully portable and can transferable with the effective investment strategy, low cost, and to a common strategy for all our people. And above all, with managed by a few investment managers. So we would like to choose the best investment manager, the best in class, specializing in specific asset classes, equities, bonds, or liquidity, whatever, in order to manage.
Carlo, I have to interrupt you. We are really running out of time. Anyway, the concept is very clear, and especially you were finishing this part about the project that we are trying to promote with the European Union, creation of pan-European occupational pension, totally portable and working on the same way across the different European countries. So we had these discussions, and I'm sure that any your company will support us also in advocating for this project. I have to really, and excuse me, but although I just received a message from a FAMA, so the following organization of the European Retirement Week, and they ask us even to close a little bit earlier because they would like people then to join their event. So I just give the floor to Emily from ITX. Carlo was speaking about international problems, mobility of workers, and so on. I know that, Emily, you wanted to say something about that because you also see with the people you work with that there is this big issue. Please, Emily, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Francesco. Yes, so maybe just to introduce myself, my name is Emily Ruland. I work for ITX, a Swiss company specialized in international mobility, providing consulting services to many multinationals within EU and outside EU worldwide for their expatriates, all nationalities combined in all countries. So I'm very pleased to participate to this seminar. Thank you, Francesco, and be able to try to find alternatives and maybe a new solution if possible in this complex area. So as you know, maybe just like a little introduction, international mobility has evolved over the past years. Today, all nationalities are concerned, not only European national, but also third country national in any countries worldwide. In fact, all positions combined as well. The number of secondments within EU has continuously increased over the past 20 years, but also the secondment outside EU. So I really think that we should consider, and it is really important to find alternative and solution within EU, but not only, and maybe to go over to integrate also third country nationals and maybe mobility outside EU at the end, even if it's maybe an utopia today. As you know, in the context of the COVID-19 crisis, whereas the number of traditional expatriation tends to decrease, especially for the short-term assignment, new forms of international mobility are emerging, in particular remote workers working from any countries. And in this context, the international mobility remains more than ever essential for multinational companies to meet their economic objectives and to answer their business needs as well. And it is really important in this context that a pension scheme should not become a barrier to international mobility within EU member states and even more outside EU. So nevertheless, in practice, as you know, in fact, international mobility is not without consequences for employees, especially in terms of pension rights. I'm specialized in labor law and social security schemes within EU and other mandatory schemes worldwide. And I have made many calculations for expatriates to compare the different schemes and answer the question that our clients may have in this respect, trying to find alternatives through voluntary insurances in the home countries or through pan-European or international pension plan when need be, to secure the employees' rights in this respect. So it is really difficult to find a single solution. As you know, laws related to social security are territorial, and in fact, employees are subject to the social security scheme of the country where the professional activity is carried out, subject to exception in terms of secondment or pluri-activity under specific conditions within EU. And although within EU, a coordination of the systems has been implemented to preserve as far as possible the rights of mobile employees, each country still has its own system and specificities. And as discussed previously, and as you all mentioned, there is, as you know, many differences between the national schemes in terms of first pillar, but also second pillar. As you said, for instance, in Germany, there is no mandatory second pillar, whether in other countries, there may be very little first pillar, but more second pillar. So we really need to have a global overview of the different schemes within each countries and to trying to find additional solution in this respect. Today, multinational companies try in this context to find alternatives to secure their employees' retirement rights and ensuring also a kind of equity of treatment among their expatriates, regardless their nationality and the host country, to avoid that, for instance, different national employees coming to work in a single member states have different social coverage or ensure also that they will not have any lack of coverage as part of this international mobility. So in order to find alternatives and solutions, they try as far as possible maintain voluntary insurances when it is possible in the home country, but it is not always possible. Or they also use international or pan-European pension plan for their international mobile employees towards different insurances within EU. But despite the use of pan-European and international pension funds, these multinational companies are still facing difficulties, as such plans still remain national and subject to country-by-country legislation. So in this context, if I may suggest some improvement in this respect, I think that it would be really important that we go through further and a development regarding the coordination in terms of second pillar, because we today have a kind of complete coordination for the first pillar, but it's not still the case for the second pillar. So to continue to improve this coordination regarding the second pillar and to ensure that we can benefit from common minimum rules, common for all European countries combined within Europe in terms of pension plan. Because today we still have specificities depending on the countries for each pension plan in terms of portability, vesting rights, also tax qualified requirements, because each country keep its own specificities in this respect. So we should also maybe consider as far as possible, and I know that it is subject to actuarial and financial market opportunities as well, but it could really be useful to secure a minimum capital for the employees through international pension plan, because today it is not the case, and I know that there is an economic situation and environment with the COVID-19 crisis which is not in line with that, but today we really face a continuous decrease of interest rate within the international pension plan as well, and due to life expectancy issues as well, a decrease of the convention rate between the capital to transform it into life annuity. So in this respect, and I know, for instance, this exists in Switzerland, there is, for instance, even if it is only for a minimum part of the capital, but we need to guarantee as far as possible, and I know that international pension plans are quite reluctant now to guarantee a minimum capital as part of international pension plan, and companies face even more maybe negative interest rate, but we need to secure a minimum part of the capital for the employees in this respect. So maybe to have kind of common guidelines within EU for all the EU member states in terms of minimum guaranteed capital, minimum conversion rates maybe as well of the capital into annuities within EU, would be very useful as part of management fees with more visibility and maybe common cap, as that it has already been discussed a few minutes ago. Again, I think it will be really important, and in this respect, Francesco, I'm really convinced that the CBBA project as part of legal pan-European common conditions for all EU member states within EU could be a really good solution in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily. You're right. Basically, many things you said are a little bit our motto, no? International solutions, cross-border, and so on. And of course, so it's not by chance that I think is one of my members, one of the first members who joined CBA. Okay, very good. We have to shift to the last session. We have less than 30 minutes. So unfortunately, we are a little bit late. Please, so Joseph, I would ask you to start following our agenda here.
Thank you, Francesco. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Sorry, can you hear me?
Are always the unlucky ones.
No worries. I'll keep it brief and try to make up some time for you. So let me just share my screen very quickly. Okay, hopefully you can all see that. So thank you. My name is Joseph Barnes. I work for Utmost Corporate Solutions. Utmost Corporate Solutions is a leading group risk insurer with over 30 years experience in the employee benefits market. We have offices based in Ireland and in Guernsey, and we specialise in pan-European cross-border life and disability solutions for multinational companies. So we provide solutions for Irish domestic clients and multinational-based EU clients from our pan-European offices in Ireland, and for non-EU-based multinationals from Utmost Worldwide in Guernsey. We were previously a Generali business, and we still sit within the Generali family. We're part of the Generali Employee Benefits Network, the JEB network, where we're their partner of choice for Irish, pan-European and worldwide risk. So maintaining this relationship to JEB is extremely important to us. We work with them very closely on a daily basis, and it also enables us to provide a full suite of benefits to our clients, including multinational pooling, captive, and global underwriting programs as well, which enables clients to capitalize on their size and their scale, benefiting both new and existing clients of Generali. So in response to how multinational companies are now structured and their requirements, we developed what we call our Global Risk Solution, or GRS for short, which is a unique pan-European and cross-border international life, disability and critical illness product. Our pan-European license allows us to provide a fully admitted solution to local employees across Europe, and via our worldwide business in Guernsey, we can provide a non-admitted solution to cater for expat and globally mobile employees outside of Europe. Combining these businesses across 2 locations, we're now able to offer a single solution, meeting the unique and ever-changing needs of a globally diverse workforce. We're finding multinational companies have a much greater demand for this type of simplified solution, kind of mirroring some of the comments that Emily was made in the previous session. So thank you for those. In terms of our target audience, our clients range from 10 employees to 10,000 employees, and our solution is most often utilised across Europe, or with clients with populations of employees in remote locations where benefits can sometimes be hard to purchase or inadequate limits available. Bringing these locations together under a single contract offers clients peace of mind that their employees are covered under a truly global plan. So moving on to now in terms of what we're seeing in the market and how we believe our product may be able to benefit your clients, and where it closely sits alongside the kind of pan-European and cross-border pension programs. There may be some common themes here. So as I mentioned, our global risk solution, that product's been in force for around 18 months, and it was developed off the back of the demand for a centralized approach to international benefits. So in this time, we've seen a very large shift in clients moving away from more of a country-led or individual country-led HR and benefit roles to more of a regional and global operational roles, essentially underpinned by global strategies and multinational companies trying to have a more consistent approach globally. So common items within these strategies include providing a minimum level of benefits globally, centralizing processes and administration. There's a large focus on compliance. It's more and more often at the top of the list, up there with price these days. They're also looking for simplification of benefit design, alignment of terms and conditions. So depending on where that kind of HR or purchaser is based, they're perhaps looking to remove language barriers across multiple programs, multiple claims processes, and where possible, trying to use common terminology so that it's clear and fair to all members, regardless of their location or their nationality. clients are also looking to capitalize on the size of their business through economies of scale, and that feeds back into both from an insurance vehicle perspective. So as I mentioned earlier, multinational pooling, captive and global underwriting type programs, but also to feed through into cost as well. So all of these items ultimately help clients deliver a more efficient benefit program in a manner that ensures greater governance of their data and drastically reduces the risk of gaps in that coverage globally. So whilst our product is designed to be a one-size-fits-all, we do recognise that there are specific compliance and legislative challenges that also come with global programs, and our product is designed to provide the most compliant solution possible. Many factors such as local market norms, social security systems, and tax must also be considered. However, we do believe that our solution can help support these global goals and is a great kind of starting point for further expansion. So just on the slide that's on screen here is just kind of a real life case study of how we've recently worked with a large multinational tech company. Now, this particular client had around 14,000 employees across 30 different countries. The reason that they approached us was actually to specifically look at a smaller cohort of around 235 employees that they had spread across 10 countries. Now, at the moment, they were purchasing individual benefits at a local level in each country, and even in some countries where group policies weren't available, these individuals were purchasing those benefits themselves. So the client didn't have much visibility over what was being purchased, the limits that were in place, details of the coverage, and ultimately the costs vary largely from country to country. What we were able to do for this client was to continue to insure those 235 employees in those 10 countries, work with a single broker, reduce the number of contracts from 10 down to 1. That's one set of terms and conditions, and there is a small asterisk over that depending on the license that we write them, but we can touch more on that on another day. Ultimately, it delivered them one quotation, one claims department, and they work with one account management team. So it really simplified that process for them, brought them great efficiencies across administration, across the delivery of that product, and also from a cost perspective as well. So hopefully that just helps bring to life the solution that we provide. So I think I'll probably leave it there for today. So thank you for your time, and thank you, Francesco. I'll hand back over. But if anyone should have any questions, feel free to approach me after this session, and hopefully Francesco will be able to circulate these slides as well.
Thank you. I will, of course, and we are really rushing, but thank you very much. And of course, we will make it circulate not only your slides, but be aware that this, you know that probably, this webinar is recorded, right? So anyway, we can also distribute the entire webinar and your intervention, your speeches. Okay, good. Ken Gulick from Fidelity. Why Fidelity is in this session about cross-border pan-European pensions?
Yeah, thanks, Francesco. Just really quickly, so Fidelity, probably most people know us as an asset manager, but we are indeed a large and global leading defined contribution administrator, notably in the US, but also in the UK and Germany, and continuously look at markets and other opportunities to expand. Just to keep my comments very short, I was just going to comment on the structure of cross-border plans, specifically pan-EU, pan-European plans, that we think really do meet the needs of kind of this globalizing workforce, globalizing multinationals as footprints expand, and companies have more and more diverse workforces. They're also generally moving towards more centralized or more regionalized benefits management structures. So the idea of working kind of across, a single plan structure, potentially with a single provider to aggregate benefits, get greater economies of scale, we think really hits a lot of benefits for corporates. And there's a lot there to really work on. Now, I think a lot of people would agree that the pan-EU structure through the IORP directives have not really grown or taken off as anticipated over the years. I still think, we're in early days, and a lot more can come, notably through regulations, legislation, but also kind of that demand supply mix between multinationals and providers. So a lot of work that providers can do to help bring more credible, robust, efficient solutions to markets to meet, I think, these needs of multinationals. So we shouldn't be throwing the baby out with the bathwater on the IORP directive. Working to IORP 3, absolutely looking to fix some of the issues and the barriers that we continue to see in the pan-EU space. But we fully are supportive and see that type of structure, I think, in the years, decades, generations to come, is definitely the type of structure that'll work. So I'll just leave my comments there in the interest of time.
Thank you very much, Ken, and thanks also for your messages. And you know that at CBBA we are really working also on the IORP 3 directive, because, like you said, there are many things to fix. Very good. Carl Gagnon, it's like a French name, but you're American. Carl, please, the floor. Why an American?
Yeah, no. Yes, I'm obviously French descent with the name like Gagnon, as we pronounce it in the US now, but Gagnon is the correct French pronunciation. So good to hear it, Francesco. And Olga, Francesco, and CBBA, please, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm going to be really quick, and I'm going to come at this a little bit differently. I'll talk a little bit about Unum. So if I can share my screen here, I apologize. I will make sure I put that in front of you. Let me know if you can see that. Yes, okay, good.
Yes.
So Unum, just for those of you that don't know who we are, Unum is obviously a insurance and financial services company that provides disability, group income protection, accident, critical illness, dental, and vision benefits. Predominantly in the US, but we have operations in the UK and EU, a large operation in the UK, 2 smaller operations in Ireland and Poland, and I oversee the retirement and financial well-being strategies of those companies. Interestingly enough, I think what we've heard from Ken and from others with smaller plans, obviously the new regulations, whether it's IORP 2, investment, stronger regulatory standards, it's tough to come up with oversight of smaller plans with the greater and greater regulatory compliance and government filing responsibilities that we have globally. Our plans are both DB and DC, so we are similar to others. We have obviously a smaller footprint in the UK because we're generally a US-based company. But let me continue to do some, I'm sorry, just moving the slides down. What we feel is the core piece of working on well-being in general, and more specifically in my area of expertise, financial well-being, is that this concept of well-being is continuing to change, and it has changed significantly since 2019 per se, in pre-pandemic, as we've talked. People have become much more mobile, much more flexible, much more global in their approaches. The arrangements that we make on people moving, expats, secondment, tax equalization has become more and more complex and more frequent. So how do you develop a program globally? Well, number one, we think it's very important to find out what our employees feel globally. And we do that through a total well-being survey, but it's a self-assessment. We could ask questions and have the scientists come up with all of the reasoning why people feel the way, but we'd rather ask the questions, and the methodology says, how do you feel about yourself? So we're asking them to take that self-assessment, and we ask them to look at health, life, financial, and work domains. That helps us build what we call a corporate benefit strategy, a total reward, total well-being strategy. And we try to put that as the overlay over what we do globally at Unum. We strongly believe in nudgeonomics, if you want to call it that, behavioral science and analytics to help provide just-in-time information, resources, and to nudge our employees to hopefully make better decisions and get better outcomes on all four domains, but again, financially as well, especially as it relates to pensions, DC investment, the importance of both the company's commitment and the employee's commitment to this arrangement. A lot of that is philosophically. So we are refining our awards based on some of the self-assessment. We're adding new benefits. We're adding emergency savings as portions of our DC plan. We're asking for special considerations from our regulatory agents to make sure we can do some of these things. And we're also enhancing our communication education. What we've heard from our employees is that it's hard to communicate, and we're going more mobile. I think we heard that from our Prexanet friends that, you know, you have to be much more mobile, you have to be much more just in time on this. So we're doing that. And then I think financially, or the last point is to help with this mobility, to help with this flexibility, we need to continue to look at and approach cross-border benefit strategies. We're a big supporter of CBBA. We want to support well-being. We think the ability to administer multinational pension plans cross-border and to have it done efficiently in one system with one oversight is a significant benefit to us. And we're a smaller player, as I said, in that. But with some of our smaller plans, we see the benefit of that. So with that, Francesco, I'll turn it over, knowing time is of the essence.
Many thanks, Carl. Really thanks, really appreciated. Okay, we have the last intervention from cross-border pension Europe and Europe from Thierry Verkest, United Pensions. Thierry, could you tell us a little bit the progress of your cross-border Europe?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Francesco. Good afternoon, everyone. I just have a couple of minutes, so I promise to keep it short. Yes, indeed. I'm based in Brussels. We have a dedicated team helping companies in setting up and managing cross-border IOPS. And actually, I wanted to end this session with a positive message. A positive message when it comes to cross-border pensions in Europe. And as you can see on the map, and you might be surprised, but this is really the reality of today. All the dark blue countries have cross-border activity, all of them. And I think I can say it's all working perfectly well, even if the number is limited, as you know, it's not a big bang, but it shows that we have quite a large number of countries, especially in Western Europe. I wanted to say so much more about this. I'd just like to mention that since the beginning of this year, we even have Germany. We've been waiting a long time for Germany to have a cross-border activity. So we started having Germany in a Belgian IOP. We're only talking about pensioners, but clearly multinational companies are looking at reducing liabilities on the balance sheet. And typically in Germany, you have these book reserves. By reducing the book reserves, you need the cash because if you fund an IOP, you need the cash. So you can consider even liquidating what we call CTAs in Germany or partially liquidating them. But in any case, pensioners, your pensioner population can move into an IOP, and it has proven to work perfectly well. I also like to say that there is a possibility to have cross-border activity even outside of EEA. ME stands for Middle East. We have seen employees from the Middle East joining IOPS in Belgium since a couple of years, actually. And so that works perfectly well. So keep that in mind. It's not necessarily only within the EEA. And also, we have been talking about expats and international pension plans. In the meantime, we see more and more companies moving from a offshore arrangement to what we could call an onshore arrangement, and that could typically be within a IOP. So good to know that even expat plans can be managed through this IOP. I will just finish by saying keep in mind you can set up your own IOP, but not all companies necessarily have the people and the time and the budget to set up their own IOP, and that there are solutions in the market where you can join these multi-employer IOPs working on a cross-border basis. There are a number of them, like United Pensions or Resaver, that one fund set up by the European Commission. So if you want to know more about that, or if you want to know more about certain countries, you can always reach out to me. So that's it for me, Francesco, for now.
Many thanks. We made a miracle. We finished on time. I really thank everyone. Well, so just a couple of comments. First of all, thanks to everyone, to all the speakers, to all, of course, also the participants, delegates. I hope the discussion was interesting. We had to rush. We had, but I think we had a wonderful opportunity, especially in this time of Corona, that we met again, at least virtually, and we had another conference. You were used to have longer and let's say bigger conferences, but we know the situation. Maybe do 2 or 3 comments about European legislation versus pan-European, considering that we are finishing this session on this topic. And of course, it's very interesting for us as CBBA. First of all, it was said today that the PEP is going to take off. There are still several questions. We are following, and to be honest, also we are receiving also several information. So if you need to get some information about the PEP, please contact us. I'm referring to the delegates, the members, of course, and everyone, because it's something that we are following quite strictly. We know that there are some organizations who would like to set up a PEP quite briefly, so that's also the reason why we are interested. The second reason, the second thing is that like it was said, that the IOP, so basically the pension fund directive, providing for cross-border pensions, which is the one that, for example, Thierry is applying with the United Pension, is going to be revised. We know that it will take some time, as it was said by Nico Spiegel, because the IOP 2 was implemented late, but we are following these works again also. And importantly, we would like really to focus on this part which regards the cross-border part, which is not probably working as it should work. So first, be informed that we are following this topic. Secondly, if you have some specific remarks about ideas on how to improve this regulation about the cross-border part, please let us know, because we can have a discussion and then take your proposals to the legislator. The third is that you know that probably some of you at least, we made a project about a kind of pan-European, a PEP for occupational pensions. We call it the PEOP, so pan-European occupational pension. This is our initiative. It's a paper, it's a reflection paper, very legal. It's about 60 pages long. But of course, we try to imagine that after the PEP, a next step for the European Union, I think it was mentioned today during the conference, would be also to have a kind of a corresponding product for workplace pensions. And that's something that now we would like to launch in a strong campaign, because we think that the project is solid and the companies need and would like to have this kind of a product. We know that Corona stopped many things, but we would really like now to promote this new product. And then the last remark is that about contents, the first part of the conference, so how to reform pension systems and how to promote funded pensions in Europe. I really would like to invite all who are interested to join this working group that we are setting up, basically to make proposals to governments on how really to promote funded pensions. Maybe, like we said in the beginning of this event, maybe reducing in some countries the burden of pay-as-you-go pensions, because probably that's also one of the reasons why in some European countries. I would even say the most populated of the European Union, if I think about of Germany or France or Italy or Spain. These countries are very populated and they have, in general, very big and large burdens of pay-as-you-go systems. So maybe we should really rethink about promoting funded pensions in Europe and even more cross-border and pan-European pensions. So I thank you very much. Now I am on time as well because for 20 seconds and it will be over, but we are on time, and you will receive, if you ask, the recording of this webinar. So thank you again and talk soon. Bye bye. Thank you.